One of the age-old questions for junglers has always been, when do I gank and when do I farm? Balancing the two is one of the hardest skills to master, as time management in general is certainly one of the most difficult things to understand, as well as practice. In this video, we're going to be delving into how to improve your decision making, as well as things you should be looking at in order to make judgment calls on your ganks. The first thing to know is that League is a game of incomplete information, as well as a game of odds. No one goes to the casino expecting to win every single hand. Just how you shouldn't play League and expect every play or every game to go your way. What your goal should be is to increase your odds that your plays will work out for you. There is no 100% correct choice at any point, so you can't ever for sure say that you should do something. But you can make educated decisions that are more likely to work out than others. We can account for randomness in our teammates, enemies, and information, but we cannot say with certainty what will happen. Because of this, you should think about League as a game of chances, and the most critical skills when it comes to deciding to gank versus farm are risk assessment, opportunity cost, and risk tolerance. The simplest way to think about this is with a hypothetical gank. Let's say you're going to gank top and the laner is really low, pushed up, and has no wards. All of these things put together already give you pretty decent odds at getting this kill if you decide to gank. Let's just say 75%. Based on other factors, this number will change though. Your top laner could be teleporting back to lane, which increases your odds of having the play work. Or you could know that Darius has no summoners, or that the jungler is on the other side of the map. There are obviously tons of additional factors that go into this that we'll get into later. But for now, this is how we think about the risk level of certain plays that we go for. Make a mental note of how risky you deem a play to be before you go for it. The important thing to note is that in order to properly assess risk, we need to have information. And due to the nature of League of Legends being a game of incomplete information, we can never truly say that something is risk-free. This is why vision and using what information is available to us in any form is so important. Just with any skill, you will get better at it with practice. It's impossible for us to give concrete rules on how to figure out the exact percentage of every possible play. It all just starts with paying attention to it and repetition. The more you think about your risk, the more you will learn about it, and the better you will get. You should never feel surprised in League. Everything should be a calculated risk, and if you do ever find yourself not expecting something, take it as a learning experience and add it to your risk assessment next time. With that said, let's move on to the second part of decision making, opportunity cost analysis. Just because a play may be nearly guaranteed, it doesn't mean you should go for it. For example, let's say the enemy top laner is split pushing bot against your top laner with almost no health, and a light breeze would probably kill both of them. The fact that you could walk up and blue smite for a kill makes the play pretty impossible to mess up. But what if the enemy team is doing Baron during the time that you go bot? You get a kill, but the enemy team gets Baron, an infinitely more valuable objective. Nothing that you can do is ever truly free, as you always have to spend valuable time to do something on the map. This makes it important to consider what other options you are giving up to do the option that you are going to select, as you can't do both at the same time. This is opportunity cost, and learning how to maximize the value that you can get out of your plays while simultaneously making sure that the enemy lacks sufficient counterplay is the key to making good decisions. The way I tend to think about the value of certain plays is by combining our risk assessment with a value decided by the opportunity cost. In our early example, there is a chance that the enemy team doesn't do Baron, and in lower elos, that chance is definitely higher since teams will make the correct decision less often. This means that our opportunity cost isn't exactly terrible if our elo is just, for example, gold. Let's just say that there's a 30% chance that the enemy team doesn't do Baron. Multiply our 99% play with a 30% positive opportunity cost, and that gives us a 29.7% good outcome. There are plenty of chances that you can limit test and use your games to check your percentages. In this clip here, I was fully aware that this play probably wouldn't work in higher elos, but due to playing in plat, I felt I could get away scot-free. Kinda want Noonquiver Spike. It's greedy. This is so greedy. This is really just like, I don't expect him to punish me at all for this, even though he 100% should. Like in high elo, I'd probably recall there. Because I don't want to lose this. Of course, these numbers are just estimates, as no one will ever truly know what the exact percentages are. But again, with time, your estimation skills on both parts will get better, and the more you think about this, the easier it will become. I get away with the highway robbery that was taking his wolves and come back to find my entire bot side up and go unpunished. It was just a risk that I was willing to take, and it happened to work out. The last component is risk tolerance. This essentially just means how much you're willing or able to put on the line to get an advantage. While in a winning game, we would never want to take a 29.7% play, if the game were extremely losing and we were down 10k gold and had no other way back in, 29.7% odds start to sound pretty good in comparison. In general, in winning or neutral positions, look for plays that are over 50% positive outcome only. The higher the better, of course. You definitely don't want to be tossing a coin up in the air every time you go for a play. Now let's move on to some example clips and put these concepts into practice. For context, both junglers start each other's reds, and then clear their jungle to the opposite side. After taking bottom crab, Fiddle counters Xin Zhao's mid gank and walks Kennen out. From here, Fiddle goes down to do Krugs, and this is where we're going to pause and ask, would you look to gank or farm? Here, an important thing to think about is that Xin Zhao went topside after going towards mid. This means that if we show on map, he has a few options. He can go take our respawning camps, gank top, or counter gank mid pretty much guaranteed. So anything that we do bot side has to offset that risk, or our opportunity cost here is quite poor. Right now we know that Xin's bot side camps are down due to his early pathing, and that any gank we want to go for right now is less likely to work since we haven't bought items, and Fiddle isn't an exceptionally strong early ganker or diver anyways. Our risk tolerance is also pretty low since the game is early on, and volatile, so we don't want to throw it away in the early stages on a coin flip play. While our Fiddle in this game decides to gank, it would be best here to recall and immediately look to protect our topside camps and buy, since we don't have a particularly high percentage play on bot side. It's fine to just wait for an opportunity to present itself, and in this case, buying items will increase our chances of having plays work out when we do get back on map. Generally, the longer you stay, the lower your chances of successful plays become due to not having items, and subsequently power spikes. Try to recall when your plays are starting to become too difficult to do. This section here is a prime example of not correctly evaluating the situation and wasting a ton of time. After taking Dragon and recalling, Fiddle walks back towards his top side. From here, would you gank or farm? Fortunately, Xin didn't do the correct play to punish, but we're still vulnerable to getting our bot side taken if we show on map again, and we don't have mid priority or info on Xin, so looking for a play is incredibly risky here. We can also see that Mundo is basically full HP with ult, so we're not likely to kill this. It would be best to farm down here, and then we could look for a play on bot side once we get to it. One great way of increasing your ability to make plays is to clear out one side of your jungle and look for something on the opposite side. This would mean taking Gromp and Wolves and then looking for a gank, dive, neutral objective, or invade. This does two things. One, you'll be able to protect yourself from counter jungling, as a normal response to something like a bot gank would be for Xin to take your top side. If it isn't there, then it limits what he can get and makes your opportunity cost much more favorable. You need to think ahead 2 to 3 moves in order to prepare for counterplay and path in a way that prevents it. Second, it allows you to have fallback options, which is a great way of reducing your risk. If you look for a play on bot side and you don't find much, you can always just go back to your nearby camps to farm. If you just sit at a gank and don't get anything, you've essentially just spent time on nothing that you could have spent on farming instead. This is obviously easier said than done, but if you watch Challenger gameplay, you'll notice how smooth the game looks. Plays flow from one to another and there's very little downtime. Compare that to lower elo replays like this, and you'll see things like this very often. Speaking of which, let's use a replay from Jose Deodo to show this. He starts at red and clears camps downwards, initially starting to do his blue and Gromp at the same time, but decides to not finish his Gromp and instead gank bot, resulting in a double kill. So what told him that ganking bot would be better here instead of farming? Let's go look. Some factors to consider here are wave positioning. In this case, Thresh and Jinx got level 2 first and are stacking a wave to crash into the tower. When this happens, the usual ideas are to try and harass under the tower or to take a recall. Knowing this, we can look at the body language of the enemy. Notice how far up Thresh and Jinx are playing, trying to get harassed onto the enemy. To do this, they are definitely going to try and crash this wave into tower in order to take advantage of one of those two options from before. If Jose Deodo instead chose to Gromp here, he would have missed this extremely critical window to actually go bottom, as once the wave crashed, he wouldn't have this opportunity anymore. Ganks will not wait for you. The timing for them depends on waves and laners. Using the waves as a timer is critical when making snap decisions like this. A few other reasons also contributed to this. If Lee chose to finish Gromp and then go to Crab, he would be wasting a fair bit of time as he would get to Crab too early, thus ruining his flow. From the enemy bot lane coming to land late from the leash and with missing HP, he also knows Evelynn is most likely clearing up and there aren't any camps for him to get in her jungle. Now we can say with high confidence that Evelynn can't counter the gank, and that by showing on map, Lee isn't risking that much because he already cleared his red and raptors. All of these factors combined means that this gank is low risk and high reward. He doesn't have many other potential plays, and even if it fails, this punish from Evelynn isn't that hard, even if she does the most correct play possible and takes his Krugs. Jose thought ahead multiple moves here by choosing to clear his raptors, and this is what lowered his risk to the lowest possible level for this gank. You'll see the same concept later on in this game as well. Jose resets and starts to clear downwards from Krugs. He is safe to look for this bot gank because he's already cleared his topside, meaning Eve will have reduced counterplay. Jump forward again, and we'll see the same idea. He starts at Krugs, farms down, and looks to make a play on bot side, skipping his Gromp in order to make it to a dragon play on time. Because of this pattern of clearing, junglers will often weak side a specific side of the map, and that's definitely beyond the scope of this video, but we will address it in another one. Like we said earlier, it's definitely impossible to mention every single factor that determines when you should gank or farm, but we hope that this has got you thinking a bit more about your own decision making. Consistency is key. If you notice your ganks failing a lot, you're probably not looking at all the factors that you can. Think about how consistent Jose looked in this game. Every single play he went for worked, and while he didn't go for a ton of them, they were all impactful. Because of this, it allowed him to remain relevant in level and avoid falling behind while still impacting the map. While you won't get challenger decision making overnight, we all start somewhere, and practice definitely makes perfect. And remember, if you want to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out SkillCapped.com, link in the description below. Otherwise, you know the deal. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides with one goal in mind, helping you become the better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.